So the point I'm trying to make is also the importance of the relationship of the mother to the baby. And one thing that I've kind of noticed with these debates, but not just with yours, no offense to you, but Destiny's and others that are predominantly male dominated, is that there's not a lot of consideration for the person carrying the baby. She's carrying this child. It is sitting on her bladder. It has its foot in her ribs. It's like she's the one, who is going through all these physiological changes, but it's like what she wants is not being considered. It's her child. If she decides
what
that
about
she
the
does not
consideration
want
of
to bring
the
that
baby in
baby,
the womb, though?
that baby
Like
is
the baby, you said the baby's sitting on the mother's bladder and has his foot in her ribs, but that's
Sure.
not even by the baby's choice. The baby's just existing, doing
Well, that's
literally nothing wrong at
unfortunate.
all.
But
So why
the
are we
baby is
killing it?
subject. Well, the baby is subject to. Well, that depends on the mother. There are a lot of women who are not ready to have children should not have to be forced to do that if they're not prepared. If they don't believe that they're equipped to have a child, I don't think we should force them to do that. I know ideally in this utopia that every single person who gets pregnant wants that baby and is prepared and has the financial and physical ability to take care of it. But that's not always the case. And we need to respect her choice if that's what she wants to do or
So let me
doesn't
ask you
want to
this.
do.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so you're saying that there's like this window of viability of 20 to 26 weeks.
When the
Let's
baby,
just
just a quick interjection. I also want to include the opinion of the doctor. She needs to be
sure.
intelligent in working with her doctor. So it would depend, but yes, you're right on that range.
Sure.
Sure.
So let's just say that, like, hypothetically, there's a pregnant woman out in the woods somewhere where she doesn't actually have access to like high quality health care, and she's 30
This
weeks
happens a
pregnant.
lot. It's
Right. Let's say
unfortunate.
she's 30 or 32 weeks pregnant. So she's past your window. The baby's like 8 months gestation or whatever, but
Yeah.
there's no way to perform an early delivery or an induction or whatever.
Hmm.
So technically
Sure.
speaking, the baby would not be viable. It's wholly dependent on the mother. Would then a 32-week abortion be justified
Mm,
on your view?
so when I say viable, I mean, and this since we're doing hypotheticals, which will or will not or can or cannot be actually realistic. In my ideal, the woman, the baby, or her inability to care for the baby past the baby's viability time frame shouldn't matter. I mean, hell, she could give birth and a pack of wolves come by and nurse the baby. My idea would be that she would not terminate the pregnancy and that she shouldn't do that. But you bring
But
up
the baby's
an
not
interesting
viable
point. No, it
by your
is.
definition.
By my
No, it's not,
definition,
because
is
there's no way
according
to
to
get
the
it out.
week, the time. No,
What's that?
she can birth it. I mean, she can
No, I
give birth
told
to
you,
a
like, in
premature
this, like, let's
child.
just say it's like some, homesteader in Montana where they don't have like immediate access to,
Or a tribe or a hunter
yeah,
gatherer
yeah,
tribe in
sure,
Africa, because they
sure,
do
yeah,
that. They will
perfect.
still
Even,
they'll kill
yeah,
twins. Yeah,
even
they
better
will.
example. Yeah, even
Sure.
better example. So,
Yeah.
um, they don't have access to immediate high quality health care, and
Sure.
there's no way to remove the baby other than, I guess, they could, do barbaric practices like,
Yeah,
the
that would
coat
suck.
hanger, for example,
Yeah.
or stab the
let's
woman in
not
the belly, things like that.
let's not do
Would
that.
that be
Right.
justified if the woman's like, never mind, I don't want this baby, and there's no way to get it out except for to kill it? Like, would that be okay?
I don't know. And here's why I say I don't know. For me, preferentially, no, I wouldn't do that, but that's not an argument. But I would hope not. But and this kind of goes back to my point.
I'm
We
talking
don't know
about
what
on your
these
view
women.
of ethics, though.
On my view of ethics, I don't know, and here's why. Because I want to go back to my original point, which is a big part of my view of ethics, is what that woman is dealing with, what her and her partner are dealing with, is really none of our business and has nothing to do with us. I don't know the unique specifics of her situation in the middle of
That's a
the
cop out answer, though.
African. Actually, no, it's an honest one because
It is,
I
because
would like
you
to
wouldn't say that out
I would
if
like
she.
to have an answer, but I don't
Zen,
know
hang on.
what.
Let her finish her point. Okay, go ahead, Nikki.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I can understand why you feel that way. But it's actually not that. I actually tried to tie that in my intro or my opening statement. Is that it really is her choice because we don't know and we can't really give
Yeah,
reasons.
again,
We can
that's a cop out
speculate.
answer.
Okay, I
Because, and
disagree,
I'll tell
but
you
we
why
don't
it's a cop
know.
out, because you wouldn't say that if it was like the killing of a baby, after it's born. You're like, well, we don't know what she was going through to make. No, we don't. It doesn't matter. She just killed a baby. Like, it does. Like, the reason for doing it, you can't just say it doesn't. Like, oh, we don't know her situation. Is it the
First we
case that she's?
don't.
Is it the case that she's killing an innocent human or not? And I'm saying she
Well,
is. She is, but
the,
so it wouldn't matter what the
no,
reasoning is behind that.
No, the reasoning is very important, and the reason, and that's another thing I'm
Assuming it's
trying to
not life-threatening.
talk about. We don't know what life threatening means to her. I know that we have these ideas in our head of what that
Life-threatening
could
is not
mean.
arbitrary.
Okay. I mean, it is until we have like a specific example, but in this case we don't, so I'll just let
So
that.
can I
That's
say
fine.
that
But
you're threatening my life right now by harming my mental well-being, and I might kill myself after the debate? For example, hypothetically in Minecraft, for TOS purposes.
okay.
Could I say that?
Can't
And
keep
would you
getting
take me seriously?
from
No,
too
you'd say no. You're a
I don't
psycho.
know.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I'm
it would be
so
ridiculous. It would be a ridiculous claim. It would be
it may
ridiculous.
not be. To be honest with you, it may not be, and here's why. I know people, and I at times do see a therapist when I'm going through a rough time, and sometimes they're like, you need to refrain from doing a lot of extreme activity or whatever. You need to stay calm because you're not mentally well, or you need to take time off. That is on me, but it could be possible that the person could be in a headspace to where their mental health may be threatened by the activity they're participating in.
Yeah, but it
So
would
it's
still just
very
be
possible.
ridiculous to claim that
I mean, just because it's not your fault, though.
life-threatening danger is arbitrary. No, it's not. It's
No,
either
I
your
mean,
life
I'm not saying it's arbitrary. I'm just saying in specific instances, it's not arbitrary. But we would
Yeah,
need some
sure.
specifics.
So,
but in that case, no.
right. And in the case of a woman just saying oh, this is gonna ruin my life. I wanted to go to college and I want to get a job and do all these other things, go on vacation. That's not life-threatening. That's convenience-threatening. So that wouldn't be a justification.
It
So
could be. It could
no,
be
that's
because of her
ridiculous.
mental
That's ridiculous.
health.
Then you
No,
could say the
actually,
same thing
it's
about somebody
not.
outside the womb. You could say the same thing about parenting a 2-year-old. Oh, it's ruining
And
my
here's
finances.
the difference. But here's the difference, though. And this is where I go right back to my opening statement. The difference is, can we get help? That's the difference. Because if we cannot get help, then you have to make that decision strictly on your own. If you can get help, then it is your responsibility because you are carrying a child that is innocent. It is your responsibility to go pursue help. And that's where the wet nurses and the doctors and your grandma and your mother-in-law and your whoever comes in.
That's why I gave the example of the woman who lives in rural Montana who doesn't have access to all those things and is a homesteader. It's just an example. Like some woman who lives in a rural area where there's not a lot of available healthcare or fast means of travel, who is pregnant late term, then their baby would technically not be viable even by your definition because there's no way to remove and sustain it outside the womb.
No, that's not what I said.
How is that not true? Okay, let's define viability. What do you even mean by that?
When I say viability, I mean that the baby can survive outside of the mother with help. That's what I said.
And if you're in rural Montana and you don't have that help, then the baby wouldn't be viable, even at 35 weeks, right?
So since we're going to these wild hypotheticals, let's do it. You're telling me this woman lives in rural Montana. Where's I mean, is she like Mary from the Bible? Who got her pregnant? I mean, she's not out there by herself.
That doesn't matter. It's just if there's
it does matter because in this hypothetical, there's nobody there to help her. So if that's what we're going with,
she just doesn't have access to immediate health care to do an early delivery and sustain it in the NICU. Okay, she's living on a homestead ranch and let's say she's Amish and doesn't believe in that kind of crap. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is that her baby by your definition would not be viable.
No, the baby is still viable.
No, it's
even
not,
if she doesn't think it is.
The only reason you could say that a baby is viable at 20 to 26 weeks is if you do an early delivery and keep it in the NICU. But if you don't have access to the medical technology to do an early delivery and keep it in the NICU, then it's not going to be viable. So even at 36 weeks, it wouldn't be viable on your definition. So we could kill a 36-week gestation fetus, right?
You can, but I wouldn't want you to do it.
but you would morally support that, right?
No, I wouldn't morally support that.
Why not? It's not viable, even by your definition.
That doesn't mean I morally support it. We're talking about rights here. We're not talking about whether or not Nicole likes it. If we're talking about it is her right, because that was the debate topic, not does Nikki or Nicole, does she like this? Is it her right to have an abortion? Yeah, it's still her right. I don't like it. You don't like it, but it's still her right. And that's why I put remember in my intro, I said there's a caveat. It's still her right, but preferentially between this, period with assistance from our God-given, I guess, abilities to prolong life. But yeah, I mean, it's still her right, though.
So you would say that it would be a woman's right to kill a 9-month gestation fetus just because she can't preserve it in the NICU and deliver it early. So like 8.5 months into the pregnancy, she's like, actually, never mind.
Yeah.
I don't want this for XYZ reason. And then she
It's her
kills
right.
it.
It's her right. I mean, it's her right. I mean, that's the topic. It's her right, and I know that
What
a lot
about
of people
after
don't
it's born
agree.
then? Like what if it's not viable without the assistance of the NICU after it's born? Could she then kill it too there? Like 5 minutes after birth?
No,
No. Why not?
and no, and I'm so.
Well, let me caveat it. To
No,
help
I have some.
Let's say
No,
that
no, no.
it's born.
I've
Let's say
thought
that
of
it's
this
born, but
excessively, and
it's still.
I
How about
am.
this? How about this? It's born, but it's still connected by the umbilical cord, so it's still using the mother's
No,
body.
this is you,
Um,
and who was this? You
could
and
she then kill it before cutting the umbilical cord, even though it's been born already?
no,
Why
and
not?
Here's why. So despite the NICU, because we were talking about technology at that point, we now have a baby that's fully gestated. That is now a person. And in my opinion, if the baby can be taken, I guess personhood is assigned when somebody is completely outside of the mother, and preferably before that, but just for a clear delineation when it's outside of the mother. But the point of the matter is that I'm talking about abortion. When the baby gets outside of the mom, that's murder. We're talking about abortion. An abortion is the killing of a baby or a fetus that's still inside of the mom. So that's the specific topic. Is abortion a right? Yes, the abortion is a right. What
So
happens to that child
what about a partial birth
after?
abortion? Like no, let's like so that we can walk through this slowly. Let's just say that
No,
only the
I
head
just
is
want to
out
make
and it's
sure.
not completely outside the body yet. Is that still a right to abort that?
No, and I'm not, and
Why not?
I want to make sure that I'm clear and that we're talking about abortion as far as if the child is still within the mom. A partial birth abortion. So you'll have to forgive me, and despite the extensive research I've done on this topic, um, I definitely for sure don't agree with that. Her, as far as it's
On what
concerned, as far as
grounds?
her. Oh, well, I mean, remember, morally, I just don't think if a child can survive outside the mother that you should kill it. So I just don't like that concept. And, this is, I'm not much of it. I'm more of a conversationalist, less of a debater. So sorry, guys, if you wanted a blood sport. But, and also because this is Zen's kind of his,
I
his
mean, it
forte.
just
I'm interested in.
it's been pretty blood sporty. I'm not gonna lie. So
Really?
it's
Okay.
yeah, it's been pretty blood sporty. So
Oh,
you're all good there. Sometimes
oh,
conversations can be more brutal than formal debates, even. But anyway, go ahead.
oh, okay. Okay. Well, I
I'm
was
just
just wanted
confused. So you said that it's
to chat with him on that, but
essentially
we're talking about an
what would
abortion. Go ahead.
what you said essentially was what distinguishes the simple justified abortion versus unjust murder would be being completely outside the womb. So I asked you, what if it's only partially outside the womb? Would it then be okay to abort?
If we're in the process of giving birth, no. If
Why
the
not? It's
baby's
only
full,
partially in the womb.
if the baby is fully grown and ready to roll, and we're pushing that thing out, and you're in the hospital and everyone's screaming at you, no, we're not doing that. And this is why, because if that's where we are, then we can get help. We can do something to make it easier for the mother and the child. And I would say no, that's where the right ends. But prior to that, yes, she does have that right.